Tiemann. This is my wife Amy Tiemann and daughter Miranda. And our participation in this endeavor is as Miraverse Power and Light. And so we help finance the panels appearing up here. Then we have Maria and Bob Kingery, and they had the expertise to actually build and install these panels. And of course our visionary Lyle, who recognized the need to be able to not only feed ourselves, but also to fuel our dreams. And that's the idea of solar double cropping. Thank you, Lyle. Who crunched the numbers to prove that financially as well as environmentally this is a sound business decision. So this is not just rampant idealism in Chatham County. This is actually practical, and we want to share with the world that practicality, because we need practical solutions right now.
And Farmer Doug.
And where's Farmer Doug?
Right there.
There he is.
There he is. So the basic idea here is that about half the light energy that falls on this field will be taken for electricity up high, and the other half of the light energy will be converted into produce below. So Doug's the one that's going to be farming underneath it. As our zone changes, as we become increasingly hot and increasingly arid, we think that there are some crops that will benefit from a little bit of shade. We've worked on this with the folks at CEFS and with Doug and with a bunch of the experts, and we think that we're going to actually see crop improvements while making solar electricity at the same time.
And I run the Abundance Foundation, and, and we will be in charge of tours. So anyone that wants to bring a kids group or adult group, we will do the education for this.
Okay.
Stop raining.
Yeah, we've got everybody here and we're doing
project.
it. Let's forget the microphones. So Michael Tiemann, I'm going to introduce him. Let's see. Normally he introduces me. I guess he did that already. Michael's a bright guy. In fact, he's a bright guy. He's also really well read, and so I have a very hard time keeping up with this guy. We've been working on this project for 2 years. I've been hanging on with everything I can. I use my own brain power, Glenn, to help me filter these ideas and get this done. And absolutely would not be possible without Michael and Amy's participation. So our great gratitude for them hanging in for 2 years to get this done. Take it away.
All right. It's not often that I get a chance to speak to such a wonderfully diverse audience. I usually get pigeonholed into software technology or entrepreneurship or other stuff. Everybody here is represented, so I wanted to say a few words to address everybody. North Carolina is a great place to grow. Our family moved here when the growing company I started in Silicon Valley back in 1989 was bought by a faster growing company called Red Hat. North Carolina is home to a great community of innovators, and today we are proud to stand with many of them as we unveil what has truly been a community effort. When I read The Omnivore's Dilemma in 2006, I realized that the question, what should we eat for dinner, had life-changing implications. We are what we eat. But as a society, we also decide what we grow, how we grow it, how it comes to market, and at what price. In 1903, commercial seed houses offered 288 varieties of beets. By 1983, the choice is down to 17. From 544 types of cabbage, we're down to 28. From 307 types of sweet corn, we're down to 12. Our dinner time choices are a function of many choices made before we were even born. The Omnivore's Dilemma teaches that when the question, what can we do, becomes too limiting, the question of what should we do becomes all the more urgent. And not just when it comes to food. I started the world's first open source software company in 1989, which means I've been trying to explain how you can make money by giving away software for more than 22 years. During that time, I grappled with the question of whether or not the open source movement was sustainable. This was a question I could not answer until I read The Omnivore's Dilemma, specifically the chapter about Joel Salatin and polyface farms. The industrialization of agriculture has increased yields per acre 12-fold over the productivity of farms from 150 years ago. But the fact is that farms of 150 years ago were basically a renewable energy resource, converting solar energy into food energy. Today, the average farm consumes 10 times more fossil fuel energy than it produces in food energy. And we're burning up or washing away 40 years worth of topsoil every year. This is not sustainable, even before we consider the question of the tasteless tomato. By contrast, Salatin's farm produces 6 times as much yield per acre as did the farms from 150 years ago, without fertilizer, pesticides, or antibiotics. Moreover, it grows an inch of topsoil a year 500 times faster than would grow without cultivation. And that's before we consider the quality of the food that is simply off the charts good. When Pollen asked Joel how he did this, his answer was simple: the animals do most of the work. I suddenly realized that the sustainability of the open source model was due to the organic nature of community activity. I realized that my next contribution to Red Hat would not be in the form of some new technology, but learning about and translating sustainability teachings, thereby sustaining Red Hat's growth long into the future. In 2011, Raleigh was voted again the #1 place to live and work in America, and with good reason. Great people, great jobs, with a great university bringing everything together. When I sat down in my office on the Centennial campus to find the best possible partner for my new mission, the search led me across the campus of North Carolina State University to Nancy Creamer and the CEFS team. Participating on their board of advisors and visiting many times the amazing farm facility in Goldsboro has helped me to bring new ideas to Red Hat and the software industry. I was pleased and honored to share some of these lessons at the IEI's 2010 Forum on Creativity, and I am grateful that the IEI has undertaken the mission of engaging policymakers at the highest levels to really think about how the decisions we make today affect the choices we will have in the future. That's important. But it's not just what's happening in Raleigh that makes a difference in North Carolina. Here in Pittsburgh, Piedmont Biofuels is a veritable engine of creativity and innovation and a great practitioner of sustainability. Lyle and Tammy became our friends, our mentors, and collaborators. When Amy and I decided to start a new venture, Manifold Recording, we thought long and hard about Lyle's own teachings about sustainability in the local economy. For our building, 15,000 concrete blocks were manufactured less than 25 miles away. Beyond that, more than 95% of what we spent on construction stayed in state, most of it in Chatham and its adjacent counties. We committed to make the facility carbon neutral on an ongoing basis, even though we didn't know how to at the time. You can think of that as a choice that we made that would influence future choices. 2 months ago, a U.S. Senator from North Carolina stood before the agricultural community and said, North Carolina does not need green jobs. North Carolina needs ag jobs. I've seen the unemployment numbers. North Carolina needs both. Nearly 2,500 years ago, Thucydides said, the state that separates its scholars from its warriors will have its thinking done by cowards and its wars fought by fools. Our high-tech future needs energy, and our people need food. We cannot solve these twin challenges by treating energy and food as two separate problems. The The choices we make today greatly influence, perhaps even determine, the choices that future generations will have. The solar double cropping system that we present today fully offsets the power production requirements of our studio, and it does so without removing an acre of land from agricultural production. Indeed, one of the novel ideas of this system is that the shade it produces actually benefits the crops that farmer dogs are growing. This system demonstrates that we can grow and feed ourselves. We hope that others copy these ideas, improve upon them, and share their improvements with others the open source way. Together, we can move beyond the assumptions of zero-sum economics and enjoy the fruits of the positive-sum game. Thank you.
Okay, so Ryan Gillette is the president of Piedmont Biofuels Cooperative. Those of you who got here on our fuel, did anyone get here on biodiesel? Yeah. Here's your president. You get 2 minutes.
Thank you, my faithful.
Thank you.
I just want to really quickly say, very quick on it, even less than 2 minutes. Entrepreneurship to me is relentless, even radical pursuit of experimentation in pursuit of outsized returns. Outsized returns to capital, to people, and to planet. Projects like this and entrepreneurs like this are really what make North Carolina truly a hotbed of innovation. And I'm proud to call North Carolina home. If you're not burning biodiesel today, you should be. My wife recently said, we need another car. What do we got? And I said, well, first it's got to be diesel. F-250 Power Stroke, I'm fine, whatever. It's, you know, efficiency I'd rather be err on the side of, but it's got to be diesel because we got the only BQ 9000 facility right here in North Carolina thanks to this kind of and you're going to find tilapia a couple of feet down here, and just this incredible investment in energy and creativity and technologies that I think we will all eventually take for granted in the future. I hope we do, and I hope we because then we will truly live sustainably. But if you know people that drive any TDIs, we're going to come up with stickers so we can start smacking them on the window and say, you should be burning B100. You can, no matter what the dealer tells you, and ask me how. And also, if you go to restaurants and they're cooking anything with any kind of fats, we would like to get them when they're done. Thanks very much. All right.
Maria Kingreve, Southern Energy Management, take it away.
All right, so much of what I would have said has already been said by our fine collaborators here. You know, when we started this company 10 years ago, solar was something that very few people thought was a viable option. Over the last 10 years, we've seen the prices continue to come down through innovations and across all the spectrum of our industry. This project right here is the reason that we got into solar in the first place, right? So we wanted to get into solar because we wanted to be part of the solution. We're going to have 7 billion people on the planet as of this week, I understand. How are we going to feed those people? How are we going to provide clean energy for those people? This project and these fine people are working to be part of that solution, and I'm proud to be standing here with them. Just very briefly, I'd also like to acknowledge the team that came out and built this project. It's the first of its kind in our area. John Budway, come up here real quick. We do a lot of very traditional type projects on acres and acres of land. This one is one that I hope that we'll get to do many more of, and I encourage everybody to consider this as an option as you consider sustainable agriculture and sustainable energy. So thank you.
Thank you.
So my brother Glenn came down for the ribbon cutting since after all this was his idea. And to do that he drove through West Virginia. And if any of you have driven through West Virginia lately, you know the billboard campaign that Big Coal has going up and down the interstates. And they all say signs about, you know, here's the coal museum and mountaintop economies and so on. And one of them Trump says, while they talk about clean energy in Washington, we're going to keep powering America. So Glenn pulls in last night, a couple nights ago from West Virginia, and we're having a couple of beers, and he says, you know, you're doing that. And I think that's what we're doing right now with the biodiesel and the solar. Janet Cowell, the state's treasurer, has just arrived.
We go everywhere from the high rises of Charlotte to the fields of Chatham County. Glad to be here. And I guess you were talking about the practicality of these projects. Certainly, I mean, the vision's here. And I like to, I've also been to Nancy's farm out in the east. But even just this morning in the Treasurer's office, I think we try to work through the operational technicalities behind making projects like this happen. Sometimes in the private sector, sometimes in the public. We were talking to a group today about how more public universities and schools can put solar on their rooftop, and how do you work through that when it's a public building using certain financing and helping folks hopefully get more of these up. We've approved about $5 million of projects more around clean water and solar, around water sewer and wastewater treatment and clean water treatment. But I think there's just so much more that can be done at the local government level, and of course in the Treasurer's office we will try to work very closely with local government. So I'm just really here to say that I think there's a lot of things going on in government, in addition to the private sector, making solar more possible in many different forms, and I'm just glad to celebrate with you today in the fields with my pet leather pumps.
Say a few words? The mayor of Pittsburgh, the permanent mayor of Pittsburgh.
Well, I think this is the ultimate example of repurposing. This used to be eco-alloys, which used to make product for the military-industrial complex, and now it's an eco-industrial park. So you should thanks for that, because they had the vision to take something that had been sitting vacant for years and turn it into something that makes energy, it makes food, and it creates dreams for Pittsburgh, Chatham, and beyond. So thank you everyone for coming to Pittsburgh on such a day. I think if we could do more projects like this, we are a beacon to our country and to the world, and people see what can be done. I'll close with this. I was at a meeting the other day and someone said I was in California at some big conference, and they said, what place in America is trying to do locavore and local culture and sustainability? And this guy Googled it, and Pittsburgh came up. To honor this is the kind of thing that we should incentivize and get behind, because this is the direction we need to go, where we can grow food and make energy and not waste any land. So thank you very much.
It's probably inappropriate to carry the state treasurer onto stage, isn't it, Matt?